Let's go.
Yeah. Go ahead. You start.
All right, well, I'll start. My name's Grant Fritchey. I'm a DBA. No. That's wrong. Hi, my name's Grant Fritchey. I'm a DBA. Hi, Grant. Come on.
Sorry.
Oh, God, you guys suck.
No, you'd say, I've been a DBA for 18 years.
No, my name's Grant Fritchey. I'm a DBA.
Hi, Grant.
Thank you.
Okay, my name's Chris Woodruff, and I have been primarily a developer architect for 20 years.
Hi, Chris.
Okay.
Simple instructions. So why can't we all get along, right? Isn't that the question, really?
Well, it is. It is.
Fact of the matter is I can. I love developers. I came out of development. So I'm evil.
And you know what? I love databases. I still do databases on my own. So personal projects, if it's just me, I love doing database work.
Weren't you an MVP at one point?
I was an MVP in SQL for 1 year until they kicked me out because I wasn't on the forums enough. But why they brought me in?
SQL Server MVP, who's a developer, and a developer who's a data platform MVP.
I was that too for 4 years. So I was SQL, data platform.
Oh, you're confusing me.
And then I was C#.
No. See, I'm a DBA. You have to keep it really, really clear.
I know.
Okay, so we're cracking jokes. We're having fun. And by the way, this is unstructured. We're just going to talk.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that
and you guys talk too.
Yeah, please. You guys got to start asking questions and stuff. The fact of the matter is that this is all about communication. I mean, that's all it's about. It's not about jobs, and it's not about who gets to do what, and you can't touch my thing, and you won't let us make changes. It's about communication. It's down to communication, and if you can't talk to each other, you're going to fail. It's not about whether or not the developers are messing up my database, or whether or not the DBAs are keeping us from making changes. We're going to fail, and we're going to fail our business, right? Yeah. And all I really care about at the end of the day, really, is paying my mortgage so my wife doesn't scream at me, right? That's what I really care about. And, taking care of my family and all that fun stuff, but I do it through my work, and my work I have to succeed, and I have to succeed through my development team. Yeah.
Well, and I could take it one step back towards the business. My primary goal as a person on a project is for that solution, that project to be successful. And without all the pieces working together, that solution will not be successful. I know if I lead the app dev side, I could have the greatest application, the greatest user experience, but if I don't work with the DBAs and have great communication with the database, it's going to fail. And I know that it's the same thing with you.
Right.
I mean, in the end, we're all on the same boat trying to get to the same point.
Absolutely. DBAs in the room. DBAs. No, don't raise your hands yet. I have a question. Who here has dealt with an ORM, or Object Relational Mapping tool? In Hibernate, Entity Framework, all the obscure ones later, and had a horrific experience? Okay, so most of the DBAs in the room, because it's about half and half split, DBAs and devs. Me too. However, I have also worked with ORM tools wildly successfully. You want to know what the difference was between the two? The successful projects versus the failed projects? On the successful project, the dev team came to me and said, hey, we're implementing this tool. Can you help me do it right? Which means I had to go and learn how Entity Framework worked. I didn't know how to do it. I sat down and did it. I learned how it worked. And we worked together and we had a successful project. Guess what happened on the In Hibernate project? The In Hibernate team went, we're doing In Hibernate, we don't need you, and walked away. I sat down and learned In Hibernate and put together a 3-page document outlining exactly what was going to go wrong if they did the Hello World example as the full-blown development thing. Now, I left the company because I wanted to kill these guys. I finally left the company, but guess what? The project failed utterly, and you know how it failed? Checklist item by checklist item off the 3-page document. And the difference was One team talked to me,
Yep.
and the other team didn't.
Yeah.
One team succeeded, and the other team didn't.
Yeah. So I can add to that. So I'm a developer, and Microsoft pushes this horrible thing in Entity Framework called Code First. If you're a DBA and your dev team says, I'm going to use Entity Framework, and you should ask them, what type of Entity Framework, what method, and they say Code First, hit them with a 2x4, make them not do it.
We got
'Cause
permission.
Never let them do that. So I'm a developer. It's the worst thing in the world. The databases are the worst things. If they're going to do anything, code first, database first. That's what they should say. So I'm just going to give you a little advice. That's what I do. And every project I've worked on that uses Entity Framework Code First fails because Entity Framework does not produce optimized databases.
So, questions?
Yeah, what do you guys want to know?
Shoot us.
So the other side of it is who does both sides? Who's a developer and a DBA?
Right. I do
Yeah.
IT stuff.
So
right?
yeah, I'm just everything. So you know what? I want to know questions like, I do both. How should I prioritize my work? Or we work on a team where we work. Who's on agile teams that everyone on the team does everything? Yeah.
Interesting. Really?
So there's yeah.
On an agile team, you wouldn't specialize to a degree, regardless?
No, I've been on agile teams that everyone, if I add a feature, I have to.
You carry it through the whole.
I carry it from the database all the way up to the presentation layer.
Okay, and I'll ask the question all the DBAs in the room want to know. So who has the pager at night? I'm sorry. Who gets the phone call at night? You know, I'm showing my age.
So that is for a data developer.
Okay.
So we roll out on that project, we rolled out our databases out on Azure
Okay.
in VMs. And we had another,
Who has the phone call?
well,
'cause
we
it doesn't-
we rotated.
I'm glad it's on Azure. I mean,
Yeah,
I love
we
Azure.
rotated.
but-
Usually it was me because I was the lead
Oh, okay.
of the whole project.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
awesome. So the people who built it were taking responsibility for it.
Wait, I got one for you.
Okay. What?
All right. So how do you communicate effectively with a dev that read an article? Grant, you wrote a great article. This is how you should do this.
Right.
Always. Right?
Oh.
That is, you always do it this way.
Always.
So the question is how do you effectively communicate with, he says it's dev, but I would also say a DBA, but how do you effectively communicate with your teammate who read an article, and the article says always about anything, except, okay, well, there's a few exceptions like shrinking a database and
Indexing.
index. Yeah, we always index.
I know. Well, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
But you index every column,
Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
right? Right?
Oh, I've had developers that said
Yeah,
that.
anyway, we'll go down the road.
Yeah.
How do you, to heck with that, how do you effectively communicate with a teammate,
Yeah.
right? You answer this one.
Oh, you give me the hard one. Oh, you're going to take the softball question. So
No, I can answer it too. I figured I talked too much.
I always say that, you know what, really it's all gray. Nothing's black and white. So I go, well, so one is I actually read the article. So I say, give me the article, let me read it. I usually have other senior people, because more than likely that person's junior or intermediate, because senior people have enough battle scars to where nothing's always. So usually I have a group of people read it, including the DBA, and we kind of decide, and we meet with them, and then we kind of shoot holes in it. So we kind of sit down and discuss it and give that person, I mean, sometimes we might learn something in there. I'd love to learn something from an article like that, but it's all about, Grant hit on it. It's all about communication, but it's all about respect too. So you have to give everyone respect on your team. It doesn't matter if I always respect everyone from junior entry-level people all the way up to the people who sign the checks. And that's what it comes down to. So that's me.
So my answer, everything he said is 100% correct. I won't argue with any of it. My answer would be a little more esoteric. The approach I take when I get to the vital communications, when you get to that moment, like, man, I've got to make a difference here. It's not just like, to heck with you, go away, I'm busy. I have to make a difference here. Hopefully this is somebody that you know a little bit, right? I mean, not like your best buds, you go out drinking, all that stuff. I just mean like you know who they are, you've talked to them over weeks or months, and you've got an idea on their communication style. Are they ask or tell? Are they task or person? Right? And figure that out, and then talk to them in their words. Talk to them in their language, and talk to them in their communication style. If they're one of these people who asks everything, just keep asking them questions. Right? Just keep asking, well, so how does that work? And how do you do that? And why do you do that? And now how's that going to affect this other thing? You know what I mean? And just keep asking. If they're an ask person, ask. If they're a tell person, tell. Right? And just figure out their communication style and use it on them. Because when it's down to that stressful moment where it's like, look, I'm right, you're wrong, even though you're wrong and I'm right, I've got to make sure that I get that I've got to get you into my head, but I've got to get into your head to make that happen. And that's he's right. He's talking methods. I'm talking he's talking tactics. I'm talking strategy.
Yeah.
But that's the strategy I take.
Yeah. That's great strategy. I love the ask a question. If someone asks you a question, ask them kind of back and.
Well, I don't do that, but
sometimes I do. So did you?
Oh no, I do. I will ask questions I don't know the answer to because I don't know the answer to lots of questions.
Yeah.
I was going to elaborate on the same question. How do you deal with it under time pressure? Because you said read up on it and da 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 da. If you have 2 week sprints and you have a thing you have to release in 3 months, then at which point do you decide to escalate the decision or what happens when you escalate the decision? It gets misinformed decision get made.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's one. That's what refactoring's all about. Yep. You're on a mic. I don't have to repeat it. Cool. I lose fights.
Yeah.
Frank, flat out, I lose fights. Right? And you pick and choose the fights you want to lose, but sometimes you lose the fights you want to win. And you document as best you can. Absolutely document that 3-page document. I'm a god because of that 3-page document. Because the DBA is behind me, pulled that out, and slapped it on the table and said, Grant said, right? And you guys didn't listen. But it's not so much about like, I was right and you were wrong, but it's like, okay, so now we've got to refactor. This is what we have to head to. And we at least know what we got wrong. We know where it went wrong. But it's all about, it's mark and measure and document.
Yeah.
And even if you lose, you lose.
Well, and it comes down to, it sounds like whenever I hear 2-week sprint, it's agile and you have points. And so I always ask the person, you're going to disrupt everything. What should we take out of this 2-week sprint to make up for what you want to do? And that usually shuts them down
pretty
quick because then I've got the project manager behind me shaking his or her head saying, nothing is going to change in this sprint. So, but really, if you came to me and came with something that's going to drastically disrupt my project right at the start of a sprint that we're going to start, there has to be a communication. There has to be some understanding. And usually we have this talk at the beginning of projects, like you can't do that. So there's tactful ways of communicating that. And usually if I'm in an agile, it comes down to, we've already created the work for this sprint. How are you gonna, what are you gonna do if you affect it that much, then we have to kind of talk. But just to reiterate, the one thing I would say is just measure everything, right? Measure everything. Because you might be right, you might be wrong,
but the measurement's going to tell you more than your opinion.
Yeah.
And I learn stuff all the time from DBA. I mean, from devs or DBAs who walk up and go, "I read this article," and you read it and go, "That's BS," and sure enough, it was good.
Yeah.
So it happens.
So follow-up questions on that, guys. So as a DBA, you come over, you have statistics, you have everything else, you have facts, you have tools, you have a baseline saying this is something the process ran, this is a change that we made, now it's worse, this is how you make it better. We present as a fact. The facts could be presented by a development team is either aggressive, because we're right and they're wrong, or assertive when it's a win-win. So how do you play in this situation? How do you present it when you present your facts without being aggressive, without being perceived as aggressive?
Yeah. So I'll take that because when I was thinking about this session, I was like, man, I hope I get to tell this story. So this story
He was going to tell it regardless. Okay,
I was going to tell it regardless. I was on the app side. I was a developer on this project, and we were developing this feature, and we had two full-time DBAs on this, and the database was really good, and we were having for these queries. We were developing them, and we thought we were doing a good job. We thought they were really good, and we were just getting really slow performance. And our first instinct was to go back and, like you said, to be aggressive to the DBA. So this buddy of mine who I do go out drinking with, and we're good friends, we kind of sat there and we went, man, there must be something. I mean, there must be something really wrong with the database. So we went with the DBA, and we told him what was going on. He came back a day later. Well, one is, don't try to solve the problem right then and there. Give from a developer or a DBA, you got to give person some time. So at least tell the person the problem and then give them some time to wrap their brain around it and try to solve it. So he came back the next day, and his solution was, he goes, well, in this query, you have to add this ID to the where clause. And we just shook our heads. We're like, that makes no sense. But he showed us without the where clause and with the where clause, and went from like 15 seconds down to like 400 milliseconds. And he goes, but the thing that they did was so great, he didn't leave it at that. He actually showed us and taught us why it was that way. Like he actually showed us like the query tree and like dug in. So if I could ask the DBAs, most developers don't know what you guys really do, sadly. I mean, most developers will not know the depth that you guys, your passion for the database. So share that with them.
Yeah, I would share them.
So instead of just coming in and going, I fixed it, I showed you why, he actually taught us. And we taught him. So we taught him a few things to the point now, he's been a DBA for like 15 years. He's actually taking .NET training right now to become a developer because he told me he's not going to be a good DBA. He's not going to be able to go take the next step up to be a great DBA unless he knows the mindset of a developer. And I kind of agreed.
Yeah, me too.
And so that comes back to the other point is if there's developers in here, try to learn. I mean, I know we only have so much time, but try to learn as much as you can about the world of database, about databases and stuff. So that's my story. But it just comes down to...
You got the mic. Just start talking. He'll stop eventually.
Yep. Go ahead.
All right. So you're a DBA or a developer, and your manager has gone with you to SQL Pass. And your manager is really excited about this new feature.
Where's your manager? Is he in here? Or she in here?
Actually, I'm the manager.
Okay.
And I've got my team here. I'm curious if they're over here. But anyway, but they're really excited about a new feature. And and now there's this new project. And this new feature is going to solve all the problems.
Oh.
And you now have a very tight deadline. And you don't know why it shouldn't be implemented, but you know that there's this enthusiasm and that feeling that comes into your stomach. I need to do my homework on this here.
Right.
I don't feel it's safe to do this yet. How do you handle that?
It's easy. I'm a DBA. No.
Well, and so usually I'm the architect and I say no because it could be the greatest thing in the world, but if it disrupts my project, if it's going to delay unless you're the person who signs checks and you say, yeah, we can delay by 6 months. That's why I come in. If someone comes in and has this, we're going to use XYZ and it's going to make everything great. Okay, so how's that? What are you going to give up on the project? Either you're going to delay it, or we're going to lose feature, or that. There's only two ways. So that's what I do. I go, I'm glad you're excited. Are you going to?
I'm going to take a different tack. I'm going to take a different tack. So in terms of like a given project and it's under flight and all that kind of stuff, the answer might be no. But I'm going to say yes. But yes, yeah, God, that sounds great. But we need to do some testing and roll it out. Yes, but it could affect the project. So we need to figure out if that's going to, if we do it after or if we can inject it into what we're doing. Yeah, absolutely, that sounds cool. Can you get me more information on it so that I can learn it before we start talking about it?
Yeah.
Right?
You're right.
Always say yes. Always say, unless it's something stupid. Give me SA privileges on production. No, with adjectives, okay? But the answer is yes. DBAs, developers, that's already their answer. Developers are like, shiny.
I guess I'm not
Right?
a typical developer,
But DBAs, your answer is no longer no. Your answer is yes, but. And not yes, but no. It's yes, but can you give me some more information? Yes, but how does it affect our time schedule? Yes, but we need to do a little testing. We need to make sure we're protecting production. Yes, we're going to do this. Yes, we're going to implement DevOps. Yes, we're going to implement Agile. Yes, we can put Entity Framework to work. No, we can't do code first. It's stupid, right? Okay, yes, we can do code first, but let's explore how how badly it's going to impact us. Yes, but?
No,
But-
don't use code first.
No, he should say it.
But I agree.
I'm a DBA. If I say
agree.
don't use code first, no one's going to listen to me. It's a developer who needs to say don't use code first.
Yeah.
But
Well,
don't use code first. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. But I agree.
Show to the manager.
Oh, yeah. So I do agree. So it should be, you know what? Yes, I see you're excited, but we need to figure out, and usually there's some kind of impact, and we just need to work out if the impact can be done.
Who's got the mic?
Who's got the mic?
Okay. Oh, then you're next. Yeah.
Chris, you had said a few minutes ago something along the lines of the dev is not going to appreciate what you're doing as a DBA, something about like that. And it's been my experience that, whether it's working within an agile thing where you've got 2 weeks to get something done or whatever, the dev mentality is functional and then it's done. And there's somewhat of a lack of attention towards performance and what the impact of that is going to be, because the DBA is the one that feels that more. The orders of magnitude differences in performance with slight changes that a dev may not recognize, may not appreciate, that if you'd have just done it this way, it's this takes this long versus just a little bit here. How do you communicate that but let me throw a few caveats in there. The environment that I'm experience is there's a lot of turnover as far as the devs go. If you're a really good dev and you actually start to understand how the database works and what indexes really are and stuff like that, what they do is they promote you into management, and then you start to forget all of your technical stuff willingly for some reason. Or devs are moving around teams or just simply leaving the organization, going somewhere else, something like that. So we find ourselves having, and by the way, I'm actually a dev, but I'm like an outlier here. But we find ourselves having the same conversations over and over. Oh my God, we have to explain to somebody new that, hey, look, all software is 0, 1, and n, and in this case, n has gotten really big, and you can't do it that way. And then we're having the same conversation with somebody else a short time later. Hey, you can't do it that way.
Yeah.
How do you quick hit try to address that?
I think some of it is we have to, developers, and developers have to get better. We have to not
Which of
just.
us is on which side? I'm confused.
I don't know. Well, see, I have a developers. So taking your point is when I come to a project, nothing's done until nothing's actually really done in forever.
I was going to say, nothing's ever done.
Yeah, nothing's ever done. So I can get something functional that passes all of unit tests and integration tests and deployment tests and everything. But like you said, there may be something that's slow. That goes back to my story. That story that I told you where we went back to the DBA and we were having lots of performance issues, that passed. It passed QA. It went into performance. It went into production. It was just slow. So the problem is that we discovered it, and it's kind of hard. There's a whole DevOps. So I think everyone needs to learn DevOps, DBAs and developers, because.
Question, who 1 second, in the room, who is doing DevOps? And when I said, before you raise your hands, that doesn't mean Peggy has been assigned as the DevOps chair. That's not DevOps. DevOps means that development and operations are working within a single IT infrastructure. You guys are handing stuff off. There's communication, blah, blah, blah. There's a process. Not simply Peggy got assigned as DevOps. Who's doing DevOps? And I see hands going like this, and that means the answer is no, by the way.
We're moving.
But moving in that direction. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right.
So-
and then for the rest of you that are not doing it, start.
Yeah.
Does it mean developers and DBAs in the same virtual team?
Yes.
Yes. Does it mean
Yes.
developers and DBAs in the same
Yes.
virtual team? Yes.
Because you guys both
Yes.
impact performance.
You both impact behavior. You both impact delivery. It's all about delivery. We want to make,
yeah.
we want to, DBAs, the developers are right. We need to make changes fast. We need to deliver stuff to the production server as fast as humanly possible. We need to get those changes out the door. Now. Yesterday.
But
we need to protect production while we do
Yeah.
it. That's all. They're right. Well,
and-
yeah, it is.
And I
That's all. It's easy.
argue, who's been to conferences or events and you hear the user experience person talk about user experience and this and that. Has anyone ever heard a user experience mention the database? No. It's the worst thinking in the world. User experience goes all the way back to the database.
Yeah.
Because if your database isn't working right, it doesn't matter how well your application works.
Or how pretty it is.
So user experience, it should incorporate data. And so if you have your user experience, who actually works with like people that do user experience? Okay, so there are some people. If they don't come to and talk to the database people, they're not doing their jobs.
Wow.
In my opinion. So user experience goes all the way down because you can have the prettiest looking application, and it's totally garbage unless
Yeah.
your data is correct. So that's just a little philosophy of mine.
Right.
So tell your user experience. They can email me if they're mad, but.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, like, what the problem you guys run into, I mean, and I know, because I've run into it, I know where the problem lies. The problem lies with managers. He's sitting right there. Yeah, he pointed you out. I'm just letting you know. Your guy sold you out in a minute. Nobody even gave him money. The problem with managers is not that they're stupid or evil or against us. They're not. They absolutely want us to succeed. They need us to succeed. The problem with managers is we don't give them the right information. We need to give them pure, good numbers. We need to give them measures, and we need to give them achievable goals, and we need to show them the path and educate them on the path. We don't need to teach them how to run DBCC, show statistics, and here's how you read this is the density graph, and here's the histogram, and here's how you find the range high key. Their eyes have rolled up into their heads at this point. They don't care about that stuff. They've got other worries. But they do need to know the method, the approach, the path, and they need to know hard numbers and measures. And it's not simply, look, I'm right, let me do it. It's, I'm right, and here is why. And are they going to always agree with you? No.
So quick team dynamics or team makeup here. In my shop, I've got DBAs that they set up availability groups to make sure we got the backups, make sure the servers are running and they're solid from that standpoint. Then I've got DB devs.
Yep.
Right.
And
Yeah, we
then
did the same thing.
Then I have devs.
Okay.
Yeah, we did the same thing.
So you end up with a DBA that they keep the servers running and everything, and they're the ones that actually have to run the scripts in production.
Yeah,
Separation of duties. Separation of duties. from
Yeah,
security
you're actually screwing that up.
Oh, okay. Please expound.
Well,
I mean, well, go ahead.
DevOps.
Yeah, I mean, it goes into DevOps because the idea is like separation of duties. Separation of duties, yes, but the concept of like there's a wall and scripts kind of land over it somewhere. That's the part that has to go away.
No, they work back and forth. I mean, so that whoever does the scripts, because the DB devs don't have access to production.
Right.
So they'll write the scripts, run it to test. Yep, we're good. Hand it off to the production DBA.
Right.
And if production DBA has questions, or they can go back to the DB devs and work from that standpoint.
Right.
That's what I'm saying is that so you end up with almost a three-tiered or a three-layer.
Yeah. I mean, so what he said was that it's like they've got middle management, right? They've got a guy. Well, I talk to the developers, and because I've got people skills.
Office space.
Yeah, come on. Anyway, that they've got they've sort of got this three-tier thing. Like the developers are doing code. There's the database developers, and then there's the DBAs, and there's a handoff. And I'm saying that it's the handoff is the problem. It's not a handoff. There's no handoff. It's got to be a smooth thing up to the production environment. Yeah. Because it's all about eliminating friction. You can't have friction. Bottlenecks and friction are the problem. You have to find where they're at, and eliminate or smooth them as needed.
And it's usually the people. So that's why we automate everything. So we usually have for development, we have continuous integration builds. For deploying, we have scripts that handle that for staging, for QA, for all of our different environments, even production.
We did it the same way, all the way to production. And the way you get it is that you've got to get the DBAs on board that they trust the process.
We have I'm talking. You have a production. You end up with something screwed up.
Right.
Data condition.
Right. Something goes wrong on production.
Oh.
Exactly. Right.
Now what?
Now what? You're not going to grant your devs. I'm not going to grant my DB devs access to production to fix this.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, weird.
But
Yeah,
they
I
can,
would.
they can, but they can
Well, I mean,
sit
depending
side
on
by
the-
side. But here's the thing: they can sit in the same room.
They can shoulder surf.
and they can work as a team to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like we're getting into a whole DevOps talk,
Yeah.
but I'll go down the DevOps path. I love this bit. Here's how this works. If you've got the DevOps path set up so that you're able to do the scripted deployments through a CI/CD process, it could take 5 minutes, right? And you're like a DBA, you're a DBA, you're a production DBA, and you go, oh my God, we need a script, we need an index here, or the system's just going to burn to the ground. Well, it's not like it, it's got to go through the CI process. That'll take a month, right? Oh, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to put it in production. It's fine. We'll deal with it later.
And then it gets overridden.
Yeah, and it gets overwritten, or it gets lost, or God knows. But the CI process, CI process shouldn't take a month. It should take 5 minutes, 3 minutes. CI process should take about a minute, really.
It may take
and then
longer with QA.
Well, the QA is going to take a little longer. I mean, it could take maybe it takes a day, maybe it takes 2 days, but it shouldn't really take even that long for an emergency.
For not emergency.
But the idea is, in an emergency situation, you still go through your CI/CD process. You just go through it at an accelerated pace.
Yeah.
There's nothing that stops it from going really, really fast, except that you haven't automated it. If you've automated your CI/CD process, you should be able to make it go fast.
Yeah. And you have the analytics, you know what broke, so you have everything recorded. That's a great thing about it, is you can keep track of those issues and know what's going on. So,
Non-DevOps question.
right here.
No, seriously.
over here.
He's got a mic.
I actually had a comment on this gentleman's question over here about how to bring up the new people and get them starting to think. I'm more like your role. I grew up as a dev and became the only one that really cared about the database. This is prior to having DBAs, and I was the dev DBA, and then we got big enough where we had to hire real DBAs, I should say. But to cross that chasm from a developer into a SQL developer, they tend to think row by row. DBAs think in sets. And so there's been a lot of times where we've had to have these conversations with devs, the arguments like this gentleman up here that we should do it this way because I'm only affecting one row 100,000 times.
Yeah, no big deal.
And you're going to update a set of 200,000 in a set. Well, yeah, my way is going to be faster. But we've started doing in store procedures just a few weeks ago. I require any comments before it gets any store procedures. We don't know yet how to do this with table changes and entity framework or stuff.
So
Source control.
We actually use Git for database changes.
Git.
So pull requests.
So we're starting
that
to
should go
implement
through, yeah.
that as well. But
Hey,
inside
DevOps.
the comments of the store procedure of what was changed, I'm requiring actually of the devs to start putting in statistics. So set statistics, IO or time on, and run it. So if they have a change request, they're changing it for some reason. Put the parameters in. You have to run it in a system test environment. What were your IO reads before the change, and what were your IO reads? It's not going to fix anything because there's so many variables there that things could change. But it gets them starting to think that I made a change, and before on the exact same server, the exact same store procedure, the exact same parameters going in, it had 100,000 reads, and I changed it and it had 500.
Yeah.
That was good. Did it
Right.
go to 5 million? Did I make it better or
Yeah,
worse?
you're making them think in cause and effect.
Yeah. So
The worst, from a DBA standpoint, developers, the worst words you can ever say are premature optimization. Don't say that to a DBA. We get stabby, right?
we're not trying to get them to optimize it. We just
Yeah.
want them to start thinking.
Measure, yeah.
Yeah.
Measure things.
By the way, statistics IO can actually negatively affect the actual measure of the performance of the query, just so you know. Statistics IO is actually
I do
slightly
agree with your
dangerous.
thinking. So
Very
there
slight.
is some, but not try to override. So that's a great comment. And
They tend not to want to think about it. They tend to want to just run it, and then it's just going to be terrible. But we don't spend a lot of time trying to get that number.
No,
because
don't do that.
We know that it could be 1 million, it could be 10 million. We don't care about the actual number to get them to optimize it. It's more start thinking, stop beating up the database.
yeah. Well, it's just that, for most developers, they just change a query and then they just say, oh, it ran.
Yeah.
I think I got what I needed, so I'm going to push it out. Yeah,
Do it
so-
in a test environment where it only has 3 records.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have a story about that.
Well, and that's where continuous integration and because actually when we build something that needs to move to like a QA or a staging, we do full testing against a full sanitized database. Yeah.
There's a question here.
Hello. So how do you, from a more personal perspective, how do you guys measure your work in process or work in progress and determine what you need to work on when, right? So like in my environment, nothing is ever done, right?
No, nothing's ever done.
And
Yeah.
we constantly have a deli counter of people, just coming to us day in, day out. How do you, and then you have the stigma of you're the DBA, you're in the corner, you're scary, right?
Yeah.
How do you openly communicate? I try to make it a point to try to go as many stand-ups as I can, and get involved early. But a lot of the times you're working on one project, but then you have 6 others just
So
waiting.
you want to justify getting that raise, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, performance review when you meet with your manager.
So-
I mean, the whole thing is everything's data and analytics. Just like we're asking all of you guys, and it's a plug, all of you guys, please fill out your session evaluations because it gives us more data about this and about every other session.
And
you need to
the
do that
pass
work.
evals, when at the end of the pass
Yeah.
desperately needs your eval forms, please.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But it goes back to what you're doing for your job. If you're just doing stuff and you're not keeping track of what you're doing, you're hurting yourself.
if you're supporting like multiple development teams and you're supporting the production system, you're going to have to like come up with methods of measure of how much time you're spending for each team and all this stuff. And you may have to bring to your boss and say, look, I need help.
Yeah.
I need a
I'm
second
showing you 3
DBA.
months. Yep.
but it's all about, it's just like for a query tuning, we're not just going to go and randomly pick queries and start tuning. We're going to measure, understand, this query gets called 1 million times a minute, even though it runs in 10 milliseconds. If we can make it run in 8 milliseconds, we win, right? It's all about measuring what you do day in, day out, and marking that down in some fashion so that you can communicate it back up the chain that either I'm overwhelmed, I'm underwhelmed, or Team X needs help way more than I could commit right now. You know what I mean? It's really down to that.
And it doesn't, you don't have to do, what was that old standards at PMMI?
Oh God, yeah.
Remember?
Oh, man.
I used to have to track when I went to the bathroom. I mean, if I got a cup of coffee, we actually tracked like coffee time.
But it's ticks, right? It's just got to be.
Because for you need to justify, because I've been in the same position where I'm running around supporting a bunch of different people, and to my manager, it didn't look like I was busy because he didn't see me day to day. But if I could show him, here's my day, and here's my percentage I was working on each project. So do that. But we need to probably move on. Who's got the...
hang on, real quick before we ask the next question. DBAs in the room, who think that the best DBA is the one that no one knows is in the company? You're wrong. Oh my God, you're so wrong. You know why? Because if they don't know what you're doing, they don't think they need you. You need to be right there in front of them, even though, hey, nothing's wrong. And nothing's wrong because I've done these 73 things today. Just so you know. Just wanted to make sure you guys all knew that. And I'll see you tomorrow to say that same damn
even DBAs
thing.
should probably have sprints. Every 2 weeks you should have or every week you should be able to fill out some kind of report that says, here's everything that I did this week.
Don't hide from your business.
And here's everything that I think I'm going to do next week.
Get right up in their face and tell them the good things you're doing for them. They need to know you're there. I don't know why I'm playing with this. They need to know you're there.
Next question.
Yeah.
So on the topic of prioritization, do you have any recommendations for how developers can get DBAs who are already overworked and on other teams engaged early in the process? So in particular, I'm in a situation where the...
Beer, take them to lunch.
Scotch.
You know what, when I was about, I don't know, 4 years into my career, I lived in Atlanta. I worked for apartment.com. We were doing a big project. I took the DBA out for lunch 3 times a week.
So
the greatest money I ever spent.
as the overworked DBA, I'm the negative example, guys, by the way. I said no a lot. I said other words too. That's how I got my moniker, the Scary DBA, because I was mean and nasty and I was failing because of it. And so the best thing you can do is get that DBA and say, look, we need you, we want you. What's keeping you from coming in here? And can we reprioritize that? Can you move that to someplace else? Sit down and talk to them, right? I hate meetings. I hate meetings, but we need to talk, so let's set up a very strict agenda, a very strict agenda, and sit down and have the communication. It's all about having the chat. It's all about having the talk. If you don't talk to us as DBAs, we're not going to recognize what the priority is because we have one priority, and that's sleeping through the night. That is our only priority. I am making damn sure that server doesn't go offline, and the job doesn't fail, and whatever.
Have a nice weekend.
Yeah, I'm going camping this weekend with my kids. You know what I mean? It's like I've got one priority. And you're interfering with that, so no.
Yeah.
But
I agree. Yep.
get us to communicate with us so I understand, oh, wait, if I get involved with your project early, I get to help with the direction. It's going to have better indexing.
Yeah.
Better design.
And that was what this was. It was,
oh, crap. Oh, really? I can implement Entity Framework correctly? Yeah, okay, hang on. I can move a few of these things to the side to help you. You're my man, right? I'm going to hook you up.
So the other thing is, as a developer, if you can show a DBA that their career will progress better with certain projects.
Some DBAs will go for that. There's a lot of box ticking DBAs. I know this.
Well,
because I
always find the DBAs that want to work with teams that will give them a little spotlight.
Sure.
And that's the thing. So I always, when I lead projects and architect projects, my DBAs get just as much spotlight as my developers. So
Cool.
I make it a point because they're a vital part of the team. So I try to give them more because usually they don't get a whole lot. They're kind of the redheaded stepchild, and sadly, and it shouldn't be that way. So,
assuming the answer isn't never, what factors would come to play with the idea of putting business logic in the database?
There's business logic everywhere. Every time someone says, oh, well, we're never going to put any business logic in the database, it's like, yeah, you are. You absolutely are. And you know how I know this? Because you're going to store a number in the database and you're going to define it as a number. And that's business logic. Because if you're putting no business logic in, everything should be varchar max.
Or you're going to put.
And yes, I know. I've been given that design too. I know.
Or you're going to put some constraint on a column.
Right. As soon as you put a primary key on, as soon as you put a foreign key on, you've defined business constraints. So this whole thing of like there will never be any business knowledge in that database is a lie already. So now we step back and say, well, okay, where does it make sense to put this piece of business logic? Some of it goes in the database because it's just, you put it in the place where it should be. It's not that, there will never be a stored procedure.
Yeah.
I've worked with that team, and by the way, they failed.
I hate that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It depends.
Although, I've also worked with the team, there will always only ever be stored procedures.
And they failed.
Right? Why did they fail? Because they had no flexibility and no speed and no agility on their delivery. Because every single thing had to go through it. Whereas when you can generate code that generates code, why would you be writing stored procedures? And when you're writing stored procedures, or not stored procedures, when you're writing queries that are effectively trivial or that automatically clearly use the proper indexes and come out of the gate, they're parameterized through Entity Framework or parameterized through Hibernate properly, written code, not using the hello world example, guys, the developers out there who've done that, but yeah, because we want to go fast. And code is way faster than code. If you write the code one time and it does everything you need, just do that.
Shared control.
Yeah. What? Right.
No, we never said.
No, I'm not talking about performance on the database. I mean performance on the delivering stuff out the door as fast as possible. Okay, cool. I mean, if that works for you guys, that's great. I'm just saying that it's not always going to work in every situation all the time. And coming up with these hard, fast rules that don't necessarily have a basis in reality in all situations, because you don't have to have stored procs. What you have to have are parameterized queries.
Well, you have
properly
to have
parameterized
the
queries.
best algorithms.
Yeah.
And I can write stuff in F# or functionally in C# that you can in stored procs. Just can't happen. So like anything else,
it depends. The answer is it depends.
It depends. So if
right.
if it can be put into a stored proc, I have no problem. If it's advanced and it needs to do something else and a functional method.
I'd like you to show me. Oh, it is. Yeah.
But
well, I don't want to get into the store proc, no store proc, but fight. But the fact is that you can do 70. Well, not 70. You can do 90 to 95% of the work without stored procs and be successful.
Yeah, I've got a question. As far as if you use the entity frameworks and the developer writes his stuff and the entity framework does something and it's not working or connecting with the database.
Yeah.
And the developer saying it's a database problem, and the database guy's like, oh no, database is fine. How do you kind of work with that kind of situation?
I mean, it really comes down to understanding each side. That sounds like you have people that don't really understand the other side, that don't put themselves in the other person's shoes. So
I have a story.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a story. So I had to. So I'm the negative example, right? We set up our development process in this one time, and it failed, by the way, and this is how it failed. Developers would develop the stuff, and then they would hand it to me. I would do a review, and it would go into production. And that's how it would all happen. Like, developers did everything, they would hand it to me, and then I would put it in production. And so what showed up at my door one day was multi-statement table-valued user-defined functions that called multi-statement table-valued user-defined functions, which joined to multi-statement table-valued user-defined functions, which were calling all their multi-statement table-valued user-defined functions to a depth of 86 layers. It was object-oriented programming in the database. And this was the first time I'd ever seen it, first time I'd ever seen anything like it. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is wrong. And the developers went, why? And I didn't have an answer. So guess what went into production? And the thing was, no, God, no. No, because they tested it, and it worked just fine. They tested it in dev, they tested it in QA, and it was fine. And so it went into production. Now, they tested it with one row, but my problem is, and the story is that what the issue that I hit was, when they said why, I didn't have an answer. And so you might be hitting situations where you know it's wrong, but you don't know why, and you can't communicate it and show them exactly where it went south, and best of all, offer an alternative. And this was earlier in my career. I mean, I was a young DBA once, and I literally did not know. I didn't know why it was totally screwed up. I didn't know why it was going to burn down, but I knew it was going to. But because I couldn't communicate it to my dev team was right and I was wrong. So you've got to have the knowledge and the ability to communicate to them. If you're like going, well, this just doesn't look right, and it's not running slow, but I don't have measures on exactly why it's running slow, and I can't show you an execution plan, that's showing the table scan, with this giant pipe coming out of it, and then way down here it filters down to one row, and so you're getting this late filtering going on because you're doing a 10 million row table scan. If I can't show that and demonstrate it and give them the educational opportunity to understand why they've screwed up, then they're right and I'm wrong, regardless of the situation.
Well, and I've been on the other side. If I can't do the same thing with a DBA, they're right. So, yep.
One thing I would like to add to that, so we use
Sorry.
Entity Framework and it's shit, I get it. But basically, what it is
He said it was less than optimal.
Official, yeah.
But the problem is though, it's always the database fault, right? Something is wrong with the database. So what I find is helpful is if you have a monitoring tool or something and you can prove that, hey, look, these are the replies that are coming in.
And that's,
These are the ways we're looking at
for the microphone, what he's saying is like, Entity Framework, he finds less than optimal. It's not. It actually works well if it's developed correctly. That's the word, if it's developed correctly. But they're getting it, and what they're doing is they're monitoring their production servers, and they're getting the numbers back and showing
DevOps.
people. Right, and it's part of DevOps. She has a question. Yes. Oh, I know he's got the mic, but she had a question.
Well,
oh.
She can ask, because I'm sure you're talking about
Either one. You've got the mic. Go ahead. And then we'll make sure that she gets it.
It's a different subject. Back to the overworked DBAs in that particular. So at our place, we're small, and we have we do both DBA and DB at the same time, and we have too many devs to support. So in that case, our devs are now just kind of going behind our back and implementing things without us. So we're having trouble of putting the forefront of our face back into them. So do you have any advice of how we can show that we're actually useful and needed?
you have this.
Well, one, production needs to be locked down.
No, production is locked down. They're setting up Azure, SQL DBs, and everything like that without even coming to us.
They've been to my sessions because the DBAs have been out there saying no, they can't have Azure, and I've told developers just bypass them. You can go right there without the DBA.
Why are you giving bad advice?
I'm so popular right now. This is awesome.
Yeah, but don't you have a master account for your Azure?
We do.
Not for
so
no.
This is all proof of concepts and everything like that. So
Wow.
they're just
And
trying
proof,
to set
and once a proof of
something
concept
up.
works, where's it
Right,
going?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's honestly, it's the same answer we've been saying over and over again. It's about measuring it and educating them. Identify the measures and educate them. But also, if DBAs, if you guys are overworked, the best thing you can do is start automating stuff. Automate deployments, automate tests. Treat your databases like code. Learn from the developers. These guys are smart, right? These ladies out here writing this code, they know what they're doing. They're good, right? Yes, they are. They're good. Learn from them. They've developed these processes and methodologies. He knows what he's doing.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Every once in a while he's wrong, and I hit him really hard. But we need to have that trust of them so that they will get that trust of us. But what we've got to do is we've got to measure and automate and follow their processes. That's going to make us win. You're up.
Quick point to your point about verbalizing and the need to verbalize things that you understand in your brain, but for whatever reason you can't verbalize. That is a very good reason to jump into the speaker circuit and try to become a technical presenter. That will get you to develop an area of your brain that you are not usually developing by sitting behind a computer all day. And that skill will be useful in your day job when you're communicating with somebody on the same team or a different team.
Yes.
Yes.
Everything she said, and I'm not going to add to it.
Yes. Confidence. So this last week, on Twitter, I said, what, when I was younger, I had a speech impediment. So I didn't actually start talking until I was 3.
Wow.
And I went through speech. I was in preschool at a deaf school, But you know what really pushed me out of my bubble? Started speaking. And that was a big thing. When I was about 30, I started speaking. And yeah, so I totally agree. Pushing yourself gets a lot of self-confidence. It helps out. It also gives you some street cred with people on your team.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, but I just think you nailed it.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
because
did.
what you'll find is that you have to sell your devs. You have to sell your management. You have to stand up there in front of them and go, this is how this works, this is why this happens, this is how it's going to do, this is what I'm going to change, and this is how the improvements are going to arrive. Yeah. And what is that? You've just given a presentation.
Yeah.
So if you give presentations to your local user group, if you do them at SQL Saturdays, you don't have to try to become an MVP. You don't have to, you don't have to like say, oh, I'm going to travel the world doing this all day, all night, and do my day job. No. Show up at your local user group and say, look, I'd like to help out. I've got a presentation I'd like to try to give. Yeah. I want to try this out in practice. Go to Toastmasters, right? Go to Toastmasters and just practice speaking. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a skill you'll need because you have to communicate.
And writing.
And writing.
Write a blog. I mean, that's a...
Write a blog. And you know why you write a blog? Not because you're going to get 10,000 hits and become Brent Ozar.
Because you're going to learn more than anybody reading your blog.
It's not about becoming Brent Ozar. It's about recording what you've done, and recording what you've learned, and practicing writing. Because you're going to have to write communications and emails and all this stuff to communicate with your dev teams and communicate through your Slack channel. And communication is just, the job is about communication.
Two thoughts. When you go back after past summit, if you're scared of talking to people, do a presentation to your own team. I've got a 5-person team. We're definitely going to have, we have sprints, so every second Monday, we have a 5-minute knowledge sharing session. What did you learn? Second thought is, if you're overworked, get a nice tool. I don't want to plug anything, but Jira. Use Jira.
What did he say? Oh, Jira. Oh.
Yeah, Jira. And start planning out your entire team's like sprints, in the sense that as operations staff, mark down all your meetings, allocate time to your meetings, allocate stuff that you absolutely need to do these 2 weeks, allocate stuff that would be nice to do these 2 weeks. Then you get the sensible amount of measure of what you're spending your time on. Somebody comes to talk to you, create a new ticket. It's very easy.
Well, and also block off time in your schedule. There's an hour and a half every morning I'm not available.
It's pretty much reverse for me.
Well, so I know it's different people, different places. But I'm just saying, like,
I am available.
I block off an hour and a half, and I block off an hour and a half when I'm not available.
Yeah.
Right. And for that hour and a half, my head's down. I've turned off email. I've turned off Slack. I'm not getting alerts. My head's down.
Yeah, and for the young lady in the back who asked a question about the overworked DBA, you should be doing that too. You should be blocking off time in your schedule that no one can.
You can. You say you can't.
You should.
Can.
Because that will make you feel like you're actually getting stuff done.
Help.
Just block off some time. Then
do it.
Then do it.
Do it. Yeah.
I do it.
Do that. I've done that. I've done that.
I have left. If
I've done that too. Although that gets you in trouble because then they start calling you scary.
No.
It's better to isolate yourself.
Yeah.
Go to a meeting meeting room somebody's not using, the dirty office in the corner that no one wants to clean up. Go and hide someplace in the in the parking lot of the company. Whatever you got to do. Isolate yourself so you can put your head down occasionally.
Yeah.
Maybe not every day. Maybe only 2 days a week, but have that head down time. That has nothing to do with being a dev or being a DBA. Everybody needs it.
And if there are at least a couple of managers in here, it's your job to be the one that's interrupted constantly. If your people have this problem, and so many of us do, you need to fix that by being the one that's getting constantly interrupted. Give them the big blocks of time to get their stuff done, because if you're looking at a problem that takes you 20 minutes just to get your head around, and you're getting interrupted every 5 minutes, you're not getting anything done.
Right.
So that's a manager thing as much as anything I've ever seen here.
Let me, I mean,
How much time do we have?
we've got a little bit less than 10 minutes. We can take a couple more questions.
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
It's more of an observation. First timer, no sticker, blah, blah, blah.
Welcome!
Noticed something in quite a few sessions. If there are any people from past community with voting power.
We've got two board members right here. Yeah,
so, anyway. A lot of sessions, there's always a show of hands, DBA, dev, where devs are overwhelmed by a presence of, scary DBAs and so on. So I just wanted to point out it's this guy actually taught me that, but I like to talk, and everybody understands customer-vendor relationship, right? So if DBAs treat devs as customers, which we are your internal customers. You don't hate customers because they pay the bills. And whatever we do to make your lives difficult, just remember our lives are not easy as well. Just an observation.
No, that's absolutely true. Yeah, go ahead.
Everyone's overworked. Everyone has a lot on their plate. Everyone has expectations that they have a hard time meeting. It's our job to communicate up and down. So it's our job, if we're overworked, it's our job to let our managers know that we're overworked, but you have to justify it like we were talking about. You have to have data to show how you're overworked. You just can't go into your boss and go, okay, I'm working too hard. But you can go in and go, look, I need some help. I'm getting, this one project takes up 70% of my time every week. But you also need to communicate down too.
And I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I look at it a different way. We're all on the same team. If we all work for the same organization, we're all on the same team. And you're not my customer. You are my teammate. You are my coworker. You are my partner in what we're doing. You're not my customer. You're absolutely my equal in every possible way. Nobody's my superior. I have people who are senior to me, but nobody's my superior, but no one is my inferior either. You're my partner. You're my teammate. And we got to work things out. We have to work things out together. It can't be dictatorial. Well, the devs outnumber the DBAs. Let everybody vote. DBAs lose. Cool, off we go. No, it can't be that way. And it can't be the DBAs. I've got SA privileges, so haha. It's got to be a team. It's got to be a team.
We win together or we lose together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's, in the end, it's like your family.
No.
Well, immediate family. Immediate family.
You mean the family I like? Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
your
cool.
spouse and your kids.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
Hey, I was just going to say, we were talking about being overworked. So I find it like when I work from home, I work from home 2 days out of the week, and I can actually really concentrate and get a lot of stuff done. So if you work for a company that you feel like you're overworked, maybe go to your boss and say, maybe allow you to work from home 1 or 2 days so you can actually get it together. Because when I'm at work, it's usually meetings, and you're just like, I'm in the meetings like 6 hours out of the day, and there is no time to work. But I work from home, even you're dialed into the meeting, you can still, concentrate. So
you mean pay no attention to the meeting is what you mean. Not that I have ever done that.
No, I've never done that either.
Go ahead.
Guys, just to add to the points that the lady was making in front of me, there are 2 things that we've done is lunch and learn at work, where it's a 15-minute presentation and everybody gets pizza. Guess what? You can get half a company off of free pizza. It doesn't cost company much. ROI for the team development and the relationship between
My
devs
company was
and-
10,000
yeah.
people. We're not buying pizza for 5,000 people.
Well,
Right, well, 10,000 people don't show up for
Yeah,
lunch and learn.
I'm
It's a
kidding.
room.
I'm kidding.
Secondly, what we do with our user group, we have a lightning talks where we ask our members to volunteer, and it's a 5-minute presentation on a specific topic before the main topic. We got people who started presenting at SQL Saturdays, and some of them already presenting in PASS. We're started at lightning talk speakers, so that's just.
But again,
that's
you
how I
don't
started
need to go
talking.
all the way down that path, right?
Yep.
Do the lightning talks, support your local user group, your local chapter, local group. God, we've changed the technology so often, the terminology so often, I'm losing track. Support your local group, but you don't have to try to become an MVP. You don't have to speak at Summit, but still go and do those talks, because talking in front of strangers is both harder and easier than talking in front of your coworkers. It's harder because you don't know them and they're looking at you with these blank, dead stares like dolls. It's kind of creepy. But you don't know them, and so when you're screwing up royally,
they don't know.
It's not like you're going to see them tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it gives you that chance to practice in both a scary and safe environment, and then you go back to your coworkers where they're actually friendly and smiling and looking at you, nicely. And if you screw up, you've already done it a few times, and you know how to recover, and you're much more comfortable. So
yeah, I took it
it's
from
that.
the other side. I mean, I did that. We used to call them brown bag lunches, and
sure.
And I used to talk with that. I got pretty good at that, and I wanted to go out to user groups and and kind of progress. So we have a couple more minutes.
We have 3 minutes. I think we should. I'd like to wrap up.
Let's wrap up. Yeah.
Not. You want to get it in? Go for it.
It should be quick. Somebody said earlier, this is very telling, about meetings. They said, I'm spending 6 hours a day in meetings and not getting work done. You're putting meetings and work in 2 different buckets, which means your meetings are broken. Meetings are either ceremonial or they're goal-driven. There's a point to the meeting, and when you've reached that point, you're done.
Yes.
And if you are there to get to that point, like if it's to decide on something and there's 4 people that need to be deciding it, there should be 4 people in that meeting, not 5, 6, 20. So the meetings need to be goal-driven, and when you've reached the goal, you're done. If it's ceremonial, fix it.
Yeah.
I used to walk into meetings. I used to walk into meetings that didn't have that did not have a single goal. I used to walk into meetings, walk in the door, and not morning. How's it going? Why am I here?
Yeah, I used to not go to those
frequently.
meetings.
And ask to leave the meeting.
Yeah.
And frequently, people would go, "Oh, you don't need to be here," and I'd be gone. It would take exactly that long. Why am I here? Oh, wow, we don't need you. Boom,
and
out.
meetings don't
It's
have
just
to be an hour.
because they just invite everybody, right? There's a 2-hour meeting. Everybody on the team's invited.
Yeah.
Yay! Why am I here?
Yeah,
What's the agenda?
We instituted at the last project I was on 15-minute meetings. If you can't get something done in 15 minutes, then you haven't thought it out well enough.
A quick wrap up from me.
Yes.
The whole thing was we're going to come here and talk about the Dev DBA gap, right? What do we spend most of our time talking about? Common problems. For most of it, we talk about common problems. Why? Because there isn't a Dev DBA gap. We're not talking to each other. That's the gap. We're just not communicating. Start talking to each other. Start communicating. Start sharing the knowledge that you have or the knowledge you've learned with the other person, whether it's a dev or a DBA. And communicate. That's going to be your biggest method for eliminating that gap. And you can eliminate it. I've done it successfully. I mean, I've screwed it up horribly a bunch of times before I got good at it. But you can do it, but it's through communication. And whatever you've got to say.
I think it's the same thing. I mean, I think it's just you have to respect people. It comes down to respect and communication. And not going on the attack, not being aggressive. You can be strong, and you can have a point, and you can fight for that point, but you can't cross a line of attack and embarrassing. So I always say, people that I mentor, you will fight for your opinion until you start embarrassing someone.
Yeah, well.
And then you back off.
Or you make them
or
cry and
yourself.
run out of the meeting.
But it just comes down to you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes, and you have to try to figure out. So devs have to become. That's why I joined PAS, because I saw this need for devs becoming better data people and data people becoming better dev people, because we're all one people. And it just comes down to having a solution that succeeds or having a project that succeeds.
Cool.
And people that pay the bills, people that managers are happy with you, that give you that raise and let you go on vacation when you ask for it.
So give you a 6 week sabbatical, it's paid?
Yep. Oh yeah, I love having 5 weeks of vacation,
I grew hair.
but I have to take my laptop with me. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I become part owner.
Yeah. So so that's my wrap up.
We didn't put slides up, but if you want to talk to me some more about this,
Or me.
if you guys want seriously, if you want help, if you want my help, Grant at Scary DBA, I answer my email. That's all I'll say.
Yep. And for me, the best way is to hit me up on Twitter. It's C Woodruff, just my first name initial and last name, Woodruff, WOODRUFF.
Right. And thanks for coming out, and thanks for talking. Good job.